Continuing my trend of a story arc that's incredibly grounded in reality, I thought, well, the only thing that the Irat gamer would possibly do, given everything that's happened to him, is give up. Just conform to an ordinary life free of YouTube ambitions. It seemed like he'd gone through a lot of shit. Nobody liked his videos, so why would he keep going? And I decided to reveal that from the view of yet another real life encounter with someone who absolutely despises his videos. In the same way that Boars seemed to, for a very long time, be known for just making the shitty videos. It was crazy because he was popular. Like, people watched him, but it seemed like he was most well known for being shitty. Or maybe it was just the community that I was a part of made me feel like that. Again, because I like callbacks, it's the same McDonald's that his horrible date happened at. I threw in all these like literary, novelistic things, and it really, like, these were almost overly ambitious. So there's this montage, and I wanted it to look like it was like a rich person montage, like suddenly everything starts going well. But all that actually happens is he gets this incredibly modest apartment with a bed and TV. So in theory it is moving way up in the world, but like the bar is set really, really low. I also found that this stock footage of handshaking, it's very long, and the more you watch, the more uncomfortable the handshake becomes. So I wanted to make sure it was just on screen for as long as possible. The idea is he is more or less content now that he's given up his YouTube dreams. But something does drag him back into making another video, and it ends up being the prospect of a girlfriend, I guess. Yeah, I think that's what I was going. It was a very Chris Chan-esque idea that someone who would appear to be a romantic interest would try and mine more content from him. And the story arc was going to go further. It was going to be that the girl was like a total troll and just trying to mine content. And so the idea was that this episode, he wasn't going to upload it because it was just going to be for her, like just something they shared between them. And then she would have uploaded it. So the next episode would have started with him angrily calling, asking how it got out because people were insulting him in public again. And she would have come up with some excuse like, oh, I must have gotten hacked, but please make another one. I liked it so much. And it just would have spiraled down further and further and further. It would have gotten very dark now that I think about it. And in the end, I just wasn't motivated enough to see it through. In fact, I think it probably wouldn't have gotten very funny. I think it would have just gotten really sad. So perhaps that's a good thing that I stopped it there. This chat room sequence was originally going to be an actual conversation between two people, but scheduling conflicts kept pushing it back, and finally I just decided, I just want to get it over with and I'll do it all myself. So I'll just make it a chat room instead. It probably would have been better if it was the conversation, because I'd thrown in some visual gags, like I planned for the irate gamer to be like, but I don't have a game console, and then she'd just, pull out an N64 out of nowhere and give it to him like she'd planned it all along, And this whole opening segment was originally a very long lead into the Air Border episode. It was originally one big episode, but I cut it in half because I thought after seeing it once, people would probably get the whole story arc thing. It was sort of only mildly funny, and it wasn't really laugh out loud funny. So I thought, after the first time, people would just skip the intro to get to the review, which is, the actual funny part. And, the review has twice as many views, so I think that was the right call. But I do think the story section, it's a little awkward for a ridiculous parody that there's this much drama and emotion and effort and story in it. But I think it was sort of tonally accurate for the way that the trilogy, as I call it, went down. There's sort of a poeticness to the inclusion of Alf, because Phil, the Save State Gamer who I adore, has since doing Save State Gamer, blogged every single episode of Alf on his blog at noiselesschatter.com, which I read through religiously. I loved that series, and I may have included Alf here anyway had I not been a fan of his blog, just because the main character is for some reason named Alf. But it definitely helped that through his blog I inadvertently knew a lot about Alf. That Day Before Christmas I've Hidden All the Eggs is kind of an in-joke to the readers of that blog, but the main point was really just finding a joke that really was not very funny and have the irate gamer really praise it as, this is my comedic influence, this, and it's just not funny. Otherwise, the episode is a good one. There's really not much to explain. The episode does the talking for it. It's punchy, it's funny and enjoyable, and maybe if I made another one, it would have been just as good too. Maybe it would have been better or worse. But I agree with this comment here that this was a good one to end on because it was a simple bread and butter episode done really well. So as far as the legacy of the Irate Gamer, I think this really was sort of the right way to end it, and I'm kind of glad I didn't keep going down the story arc I was planning. But anyway, that's all the commentary. Hey, it's been a wild ride, and now, yeah, I'm calling it quits to the whole thing. And you know, it is time to do that. But there's an awful lot of sentimentality for this community, and I'm so thankful that people actually still watch these things because it really feels like I ended up inadvertently building like a legacy of good episodes, and that's very rewarding. So anyway, thanks to anyone who's still listening through these commentaries. I always do this shameless plug for the other thing that I've got going on, which at this point, I guess life imitates art really, because I've ended up falling into doing basically game reviews again. And I do urge anyone who was a fan of the Irate Gamer to go check them out, because the same sense of humor I applied to the Irate Gamer, I'm applying to my current videos. So I encourage people to go and check it out. If it's not your thing, that's perfectly okay. But otherwise, I suppose this is goodbye. Or is it see you later? Oh, yeah. Thanks to everyone who's been watching, and thanks to anyone who's listening, and I will see you around later.